Hello and welcome to Stay With Us for this week. This week has a couple of important festivals in it. One of them is, of course, St. Patrick's Day, commemorating St. Patrick of Ireland, who is 6th century, 5th century vintage, known as the missionary to Ireland, sort of a mystic figure that all of us like to look back to for reasons that aren't entirely clear. On Saturday is the feast of St. Joseph, the guardian of Jesus, celebration dedicated to St. Joseph, who after all became the earthly father of Jesus, the one who raised him lovingly, knowing who he was and was not, but still faithfully became the protector of him in his earthly life, especially while he was young and vulnerable. As we go on, making our way through the Gospel of John, I'm struck by the beginning of chapter 8. It's a story that many of you will recognize. It goes like this. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and at dawn he appeared in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group, and they said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of adultery. Now in the law of Moses, it's commanded us to stone such a woman. What do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order that they may have a basis for accusing him. Jesus bent down and he started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Well, if one of you is without sin, let that one be the first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and he wrote upon the ground. At this, those who heard that began to go away, one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman standing still there. Jesus straightened up, and he asked her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you. Now go, leave your life of sin." Strange little story from the book of John. We do remember it probably for the words, "Let you without sin throw the first stone. Let you who are, who are sure that you are not worthy of punishment yourself, let you throw stones." And apparently here, from the oldest to the youngest, they walk off. And a strange scene indeed. As you go on here, think about that for a while. He stood there, and he stooped down, and he wrote upon the ground while all this was going on, rising up only to say, "Let the one who has no sin throw the first stone." Play that whole scene over in your mind for a while. Think about that and see if images arise for you. as the story kind of unfolds and Jesus is writing on the ground, I always, as I contemplate it, I want to know what his finger is writing there. He's writing it upon the dust of the earth, and I wonder sometimes if what he's writing there isn't the commandments that once were written in stone, the commandments on which they capture her and the commandments in which they are trying to bring her to justice. However, they're bringing her there not to seek the enforcement of the law of God. They're coming there to seek the trapping, the condemnation of Jesus. So, it's always a difficult scene for me. No one there is really interested in justice. They're interested in accusing God. And God writes upon the ground as the air hangs heavy, as the woman stands there, her own guilt already known. And Jesus, the Son of God, looking at everyone else as the air still hangs hard, and the dust that has risen because he has scratched in it fills the air some more, looking at them saying, and you, what's your sin? Sort of a heavy scene. Where do you belong in there? We all somehow stand before God, just like this woman, known to be sinners. Everybody else has walked away. She stayed. I don't think she thought she had any choice. Everybody else was invited to consider their own sin, and they walked away. She stayed. As I see this kind of scene in my mind, that impresses me. She stayed. And, well, no one condemned you, huh? No one has condemned me. It's sort of a laying open on her part. She doesn't claim to be innocent. Notice that. She said, no one has condemned me. That's an interesting place to stand, isn't it? To stand before God, knowing who you are, what you are, how you are, and knowing how you stack up to all the things that he has written upon the ground and in the law of God. And to say, no one has condemned me. I see it almost as a plea. How about you? No one has condemned me. And the words of Jesus, I don't condemn you either. Go and leave this life of sin. It asks a question of all of us, doesn't it? When you're faced with God and you're faced with the reality of who you are and the depth of your own darkness of heart, when you find yourself in one of the thin places where God is present, do you walk away? Or do you stand like this woman, willing to take what God is there to dish out, to admit no one's condemned you, and let God speak next? Maybe this week we can pray for such courage, and for such humility to stand before God and remain before God, so that we too might find his question, well, who has condemned you? Maybe that is a good prayer. Lord, keep me in your presence. Let me have the humility to stand before you, to remain, and to hear from you what is good and right. Maybe that is a good prayer for Lent. Let me not walk away from your presence. Amen.